I'm really happy to be here. This group of women always energizes me in a very positive way, which I take back to my clients and my family and enjoy that. I want to talk today first a little bit about diet and digestion in terms of how it affects our skin, how it affects our body, and how we function. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, didn't realize we'd have access to one in this room, so I have my little note cards I'm going to go from. Otherwise, I tend to go into different tangents all the time and never finish. I'm going to talk a little bit about simple kitchen recipes that you can do at home. The recipes I'm going to talk to you today about, and they're in your packet as a handout, are how to make tea infusions, oils, salves, balms, paste, and tinctures, and syrup, the natural way. So you can use these things medicinally in terms of responding to different ailments that you or your family or your clients might be experiencing. I do want to talk a little bit about pH levels in the bloodstream and how that impacts our overall health, the overall health of our skin, and how we manage to function on a daily basis, because that's pretty important, and that deals with the food that we eat. I want to talk about other healthy food choices that you can make, and I want to talk about why it's important to us as skincare professionals. Why should we be concerned about nutrition and diet? I want to talk a little bit about that, and I have prepared some snacks for afterwards. A couple of them are on your table, but then I have a little snack table that you can try some of the recipes that are in your packet. So I hope all of you have tried the spiced chai. It has different spices that I'm going to be talking about in it, because I know the water is cooling down quickly in these carafes. Also on your table for you to snack on is an antioxidant trail mix. And I've varied the recipe a little bit from the book, because I always change my recipes. But instead of using the raisins, there are some raisins in there. I did put in some dried blueberries and cranberries and pomegranates. And everything is organic. The apples come from my yard that were dried, so enjoy them. And I did put a cinnamon brush on there, so they should stimulate you enough to keep you awake during my presentation, hopefully. Okay. When I was asked to conduct this workshop, I chose this topic for many reasons. It's kind of something that I normally wouldn't speak on. But I have 4 boys, and my 10-year-old has Tourette's syndrome. And if any of you know anything about Tourette's syndrome, in order to be diagnosed with it, you have to have other comorbid disabilities. And in his case, he has attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, as well as obsessive compulsive disorders. And I was basically given a list of medicines that he should be taking that I was very concerned about. And so I wanted to take a look at his diet to see if I could affect any change in that way. Well, he's been diagnosed since age 8, so almost 3 years. And he's medicine-free, and we're controlling his diet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the diet that my family has adopted to help him out. I have lots of clients with thyroid issues and hormone imbalances, and I notice it on their skin. You know, I might have started working with them when they were younger, and Alina's product was doing great things on their face, and then I started noticing changes. And so then I started talking to them about, okay, what are you doing differently? You haven't changed your products, you haven't, and it all comes back to what they're ingesting internally. So that's why I became a little bit more interested in this area as an esthetician. I also have a 16-year-old, he's my oldest, who would rival Yuri. He's a nutrition buff, and he wants to go into sports medicine, and he has kind of spiraled me in this direction. Every time there's a health documentary that he watches that he thinks I need to see, he brings me downstairs. So he's my inspiration. And of course, what I have learned and what I have tried has impacted me personally and professionally. So I want to share it with you. So what did I do? I started really conducting my own research, reading a lot of different books, and I brought several of the books on the snack table over there for you to take a look at, some of my favorite. I've consulted with professionals like Alina Also have an herbalist in my area that's a mentor to me, which I've learned a lot from. I started changing my diet and lifestyle, and here are the results since I've seen you last conference. I've lost 28 pounds. I have lost 2 dress sizes. And I'm more focused, I have more clarity, much more energy. I was busy cooking last night till about 1 in the morning, having a great time and trying to shut off and go to bed last night. I'm healthier. My skin is even more glowing than it was last year this time. And I've gotten several comments from people about it that they've noticed, which has boosted my business because they want to do what I'm doing. And even my hair and nails have actually gotten stronger and shinier. So I'm really happy with some of the changes I've made. And it sounds like Cindy and Kathy have been doing some of the same things over the course of the year that I've been trying. So we'll talk a little bit about that. First, I want to talk a little bit about our intestinal tract, because our intestines really control 70% of our immune system. And so it's really important, and what they do is they process the food that we take in and absorb the nutrients and feed it to our body and then basically get rid of the waste, right? So simply we eat the food. We have enzymes in our saliva that digest this food and break it down. The fluid goes through our intestinal tract, and the fine hairs or supercilia take out its nutrients, and then the waste is excreted. Well, that's how it's supposed to happen, right? So if it's happening the right way for you and you're on the correct diet, you should be having 3 bowel movements every day. If you're not, you're probably constipated. And causes of constipation are, of course, eating processed, refined, prepackaged fast foods. It's not chewing enough what you're eating, because a lot of the large chunks that get into your intestinal tract can actually get stuck there if they're not broken down fine enough. If you're drinking 30 minutes prior to eating or 30 minutes after eating, it dissolves or lessens the effectiveness of the saliva enzyme, and it's the only place that you can get that enzyme is in your saliva. So that enzyme is needed to break down food in your stomach. So, a typical American diet, we go to a restaurant, what do they serve? A big jug of ice water or whatever you're drinking, right? So, if you drink it and you order and you're waiting 30 minutes and you're not drinking before your food, you're fine. But if you're drinking all through your meal, you're actually dissolving the saliva that you need to help break down that food. Over time, if you continue to eat like that and are constipated, the microvilli will actually flatten the cilia, and compacted chunks of food will get lodged in your intestinal wall, and your intestine starts to, if you imagine it's like a continuous S snake, it starts to elongate. That food is trapped there, and it can be trapped for years. It never gets out. And what happens eventually is you develop holes in your intestinal wall, and you get what's called a leaky gut syndrome. Now, why is that bad for us? Because once you have a leaky gut syndrome or holes in your intestinal wall, what happens is the food particles enter your lymphatic system, and they cross the blood barrier and get into your bloodstream. So if if your blood is tested and you find that you have these, well, we'll get to that in a minute. White blood cells come to the rescue, contact the B cells, the basophil cells, and tell them there are toxins in the body, we need to respond. Right, so the B cells go on full alert, they multiply, and eventually, if you don't change your diet, what happens is you develop a IgE reaction, an immunoglobulin reaction, and this is an antibody that's only found in your intestinal tract. So if you do have a leaky gut, your blood is tested, and you find this IgE substance in your blood, you know you have a leaky gut. Okay? Time to change your diet. Okay, over time, a leaky gut can cause health problems, respiratory problems, chronic respiratory problems like asthma. And usually if someone has asthma, they're constipated. There's typically a link there. So when you have asthma, you really should also look at diet, what's happening with diet. Diverticulitis is also a result of colon stretching. So when people say, oh, I'm trying to lose the stomach, it's not the stomach. It's the intestinal tract that's become distended. So it all has to do with diet. Okay, why did I even tell you about all this? All right, on your table, because I didn't copy these for the handout, is a graphic that looks like this. All right, so you can share it. There are 4 ways your body releases toxins, like this side with the furnace. It's just a graphic. Yeah, think of your body like a furnace. There are 4 ways your body releases toxin. One we talked about is through, we get our food is the fuel, of course, and the air is the air that we're breathing in, the oxygen. And we're taking in and processing and absorbing nutrients, and then we're releasing waste. And we've just talked about the colon, right? The other way that we release is through the kidneys. Now, the kidneys require hydration and water in order to process waste. So if you're not drinking enough water, your kidneys now have been compromised in terms of an avenue of releasing toxins from your body. So does anyone know how much water they should be drinking every day? A gallon?
Half of your body weight in ounces.
Yep. Usually they say about half of your body weight in ounces, at least, in water. Okay. You can drink it throughout the day, not at one time. The skin is another route of toxin release. And of course, we perspire through our skin, through our lymph nodes. And the way that we release toxins through our skin is we engage in some kind of physical activity, right? And Yuri will talk about that later, I'm sure, with all of us. So if we're not exercising at least 30 minutes on a daily basis, you're not releasing enough toxins in your skin. Okay? And finally, the lungs. Now, if our colon is shut down, our kidneys aren't releasing enough toxins, our skin is not releasing enough toxins because we're not exercising, we still have the lungs, right? But probably we have respiratory issues. So what happens when the lungs shut down? We're dead, right? So all of these are important to each other in terms of colon health, kidney health, skin health, or physical health and lung health, right? Your best method of keeping these healthy is organic and raw foods. Okay, because you're absorbing all kinds of intense micronutrients in the process. Okay, other toxin creators in our body that we have a choice about whether we put in our body. Caffeine, alcohol, environmental pollution. We don't have a choice about that so much. I guess we could pick up and move somewhere else, but chemicals applied topically on the skin, right? They're absorbed into our bloodstream. Chemicals that we ingest, like prescription medication, okay, they're toxin. Things that we inhale, things that we absorb. And think about cleaning products. We absorb that through our skin. We inhale that. Okay, those are all toxic. And of course, pharmaceutical drugs is a big one. So all of those things block our hormone receptors, which kind of place us in our hormonal chaos or imbalance. So those are things, some of those things we can control if we choose to. So now I'm going to talk about simple kitchen recipes. In your handouts, you should have the first page that says Simple Kitchen Apothecary Recipes. So there's a difference in terms of the dosage that you're going to, or the amount of herb that you're going to use, fresh versus dried. So you're basically going to use less of the dried herb because the dried herb is more intense. Okay. So with a tea infusion, you're going to steep about 3 tablespoons of the leaf and flowers. Now I have some, these are all resource materials for you, but you really have to kind of look at your plants because some leaves you don't want to use. Some roots you don't want to use. But these are basic kitchen, the next couple pages are basic kitchen spices, and it tells you which parts to use when you're making these infusions. They can be from your garden, fresh. And there's two different columns. The first column shows you how to make it with a fresh plant, and the second with a dried plant. So you're going to just use more material if you have a fresh plant. So with the tea infusion, you're going to take about 3 tablespoons of the leaf, or the part of the flower, per 1 cup of boiling water that you're using for 1 hour, and roots for 4 hours. And you might have also seen Alina use a French press during that time. You can also you can use a French press, or you can double boil it, either way. Same process for the dried, except you're going to use less of the dried plant. A tincture is made when you actually fill the plant material up to the top of like a mason jar, and then you're going to fill it with a liquid, and usually it's an alcohol or a vinegar base. Brandy, vodka, apple cider, distilled vinegar, whatever you choose. You cap it off, and then the next day you're going to come back and you're going to cap it off with more plants to fill it to the top. And those you're going to let sit for at least 6 weeks to get to their full intensity. Okay? Same process with the dried plant for a tincture, except you only fill the jar a quarter full, and then with the root, and then half full with the remainder of the dried plant, because it's more intense again when the plant is dried. So you're not using as much of the bulk. But you want to make sure that the plant is totally dry from dew, any kind of moisture, before you work with it in oils. And when the oil is sitting and becoming infused with the plant material, you make sure you put a plate under it, because it will leak, believe it or not, out of the jar. So, and on the bottom there are also recipes for salves. Like you have burn salves, or anti-inflammatory salves, or pain relief salves. This is generally how you make it. Syrups, like cough syrups, cough suppressants are on the bottom, as well as paste, like poultice paste that you can use on the skin. Okay, the next 3 pages in your handout are typical herbs that you could find in your kitchen cupboard. Or if you have a garden, you can find it in your garden at the right time of year. And I just want to highlight a couple of them, because we're using them in some of our recipes today. The first one I want to talk about is cinnamon. And cinnamon is a great anti-spasmodic, dilates the respiratory system. It's antifungal, it has many wonderful properties. It's warming, and I'm hoping you all felt a little warm after drinking that chai, right? That had cinnamon in it. It increases perspiration, so it's making your skin work. So cinnamon is a great thing, especially to use around the holidays right now. So enjoy your cinnamon. Cloves, I want to talk about cloves. Cloves have a lot of antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. They're also respiratory dilating, helping people breathe. Cloves have been used for many years for toothaches, to calm toothaches if you're putting a clove on a toothache until you can get it taken care of. Each of these tables also talk to you about what they can be used for, and the dosage that you want to take. Generally, a child's dosage is about 1/3 of the adult dosage. Okay. Curry. Today we made a pumpkin curry spice soup that you can all try if you'd like. And curry is a great bowel relaxer and helps clean you out. And so if you're feeling bloated, it's a great thing to add to your diet. It works as a good for colicky babies, and a great digestive aid. Fennel. Fennel increases breast milk production for women. It's also a great digestive aid. If you have urinary tract infections, you need some fennel. Horseradish is also antibacterial. It stimulates your circulatory system. It helps you breathe better. How many of you have had sushi with wasabi? Oh, yeah. That wasabi just clears you out, doesn't it? Well, that's made with a horseradish base. Yeah. And let's see. In your pumpkin spice soup, on the recipe in your handout, I've changed it. I always change things. I've also added a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg into that soup. So if you want to write that down, I think it improves the taste. But nutmeg is an anti-inflammatory. It's also an astringent that can be used. It's also anti-spasmodic. If you have allergies, all of these spices so far are really good to add into your diet. Rosemary, of course, it helps improve memory and mental fatigue. Helps with migraines and nervous headaches, and anxiety and depression. And it's externally can be used for dandruff in the hair. And I want to talk about turmeric. Turmeric is a great anti-prostate cancer, leukemia, uterine tumor additive. It's antioxidizing and anti-inflammatory. I use it quite a bit with my one son who's a wrestler when he gets ringworm. So I got interested in fruits and vegetables, and I started researching blood type diets based on foods that you process according to your blood type. And it was very confusing to me because everyone had a different chart in the research in terms of whether a food was alkaline or acidic. I mean, strawberries on 2 different places. I found one alkalizing, I found one acidic, and I'm like, what do I do? So I basically went with the researcher that was forefront in the industry, or in the research, and developed kind of my own chart. Like, this is my cheat sheet chart that I use. So I can look at it and I can see which fruits and vegetables are alkalizing, and those are the ones that I tend to stick with in purchasing. And I can also look at this chart. It's not all inclusive, but I've kind of made a cheat sheet for myself on what kind of important nutritional benefits that can be found with each of these fruit and vegetables. Okay, so fruits and vegetables, aside from the importance of getting organic, provide us lots of antioxidants. And it's better to eat them the raw, or you eat them the better, because any processing of a fruit or vegetable takes out its nutritional value. We boil it, we steam it. I never microwave, because the microwave changes the molecular structure of the food, which isn't healthy. So I would recommend that if you don't have to microwave anything, it even changes the molecular structure of water. I would avoid microwaving because of the microwaves. But because of my interest in this, my son, my older son, actually told me about a documentary that he absolutely thought I needed to watch. Pardon? It was done by a man named Joe Cross, and it's a really funny name. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. But Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. I have it in my resource materials on the Works Cited list, Michelle, with the website. But this particular man is from Australia, and he had an autoimmune deficiency. He's a very successful businessman, independently wealthy. Decided after going through many doctors that he was going to meet with some nutritionists and some naturopathic doctors and take control of his health. And so what he found by talking to all of them was raw fruits and vegetables, definitely the answer in many cases. So he started juicing. And he came to the United States because he thought, boy, if I can juice here and not go to McDonald's and Burger King and Pizza Hut and be tempted by that, and I can make it here, I'll definitely make it, anywhere else in the world. And he had lived in the United States when he was younger. So it's about his trek through that journey. I don't want to give anything away, but he has a website. He does offer all kinds of free juicing recipes, free information. It's kind of more like a blog. The only thing that I know that he endorses is he endorses a Breville juicer, which I have at home and I highly recommend. I have a knockoff juicer here that I use while I'm in Michigan every couple months. But I would not buy it from his website because it's twice the price. So if you're thinking about juicing, I would go to Bed Bath & Beyond with a coupon and get it for half the price that he sells it for. Breville. It's Breville. It's very high-powered. It's got the highest ratings on Consumers Reports in terms of the motor, and it's not as loud as the other juicers.
Do you know his website?
It's fatsickandnearlydead.com. And it's actually on my Works Cited page. I have that in there for you. Okay, so you're definitely going to lose weight if you juice. That's not why I did it, but that was a side benefit to me. I did it for health reasons for me and my family. But even if you don't juice, one of the things that I would recommend to you is doing some form of detox at least 4 times a year. Like every time Alina changes her seasonal ingredients, that's a good time to go on a 10-day juice detox. And you will lose probably 6 pounds in that 10 days, and your skin will, by day 3, will just be glowing. You will notice a definite difference. You'll have more energy. And I started following Dr. Cudliss's diet plan after he presented at the last conference, because I was amazed that he was able to drop the weight he dropped. He dropped 70 pounds in all, I think. 40 pounds the first 40 days and then 70 pounds. And his energy level was, I mean, I had known him, so it was pretty exciting to me, and so I wanted to try it. And I definitely don't recommend anything to my clients until I believe in it and I've tried it and see that it works. So I really found out a lot through researching that diet plan and following it, and I did lose the first 21 pounds on that plan. Now, since then, I've been taking Alina's weight loss drops to keep the weight, and to keep the weight off. It's been fine. I'm back to normal eating, and I'm just doing my seasonal detox now. So my body has reset itself. My hypothalamus knows now that it needs to get this body weight at a certain weight, and it's not the higher weight that I used to be at. So I wanted to share that because I did bring one of the recipe books that Cindy referred to yesterday, the 101 Healthy Recipes. That's the plan that I followed as well. Okay, I want to talk a little bit quickly about pH testing. In order to absorb our foods, our body needs to be at a alkaline state, absorb nutrients in our food. If you take a look at this chart here in your handout, at the very bottom, you can see we've got a very, very narrow window to absorb the iodine. Our pH has to be between 6.3 and 6.5. So how do we know what our pH is? Well, Grace talked about pH testing a little bit in her brochure that she handed out, and then I questioned her about, why she was taking pH, and that I think was why, is you can do a saliva and you can do a urine pH, and typically I have my clients purchase. Can you hold up that yellow box on the table back there for me? Thanks. Purchase pH strips. I get them for about $6 a box. And I have them test their first urine in the morning, and I have them test saliva before they put anything in their mouth in the morning and record that. The urine should be acidic because you've been processing through the night. You're going to release it. And I have them test the second urine, which should be climbing in alkalinity. Okay, so if you drink a cup of coffee, you can pass it around. Yeah, just pass it around. If you drink a cup of coffee, it's acidic. You need to balance it with something alkalizing. So you can go to my fruit chart here, pick out some alkalizing material and drink it. The other thing on the back table that I've ordered from Tree of Life Publishing, treeoflife.com, is by blood type. There are foods that your body naturally absorbs readily and excretes readily, and there are foods that you don't process so well based on your blood type, based on the literature. So, for instance, I'm an A positive. So I always have had a problem with beef, and now I know why. It makes me feel bloated, and it just kind of stays in my stomach because I don't really process it that well. And it's a type A positive is more of a vegetarian fish consumer. Okay, so it's important for you to get familiar with alkalizing food. Those blood type diet charts not only have foods that are acceptable, avoidable, and neutral, they also tell you if they're alkalizing or acidic. So they're kind of two different indicators for you. Okay, so why is all this important to us as skincare professionals? Why do we care about what people put in their mouth? Well, of course, it affects our skin. It affects your client's skin. It affects the aging process. You're going to see it on their skin. If they're eating at McDonald's every night, you're going to see it. You have a very powerful opportunity as a holistic practitioner, which is very unique in this field, to make a difference in someone's life in terms of their health, in terms of their skin, their beauty, inner beauty, their health, their well-being, their moods. And by sharing this information with them, you can do that in a simple way. And it will also enhance your business. It's going to take a little bit more time at first. I spend a lot more time with my clients now than I used to do when I was just doing body and facial treatments, because we talk about all this. But it's a win-win situation because they see more improvement and my results look better because they're taking better care of themselves. And they're better able to function in society as, you know, a wife, a mother, a career professional. So I hope that this has been helpful to you and that you can use this information in your practice.